So here it is, confirmation of the draw. Group A, FC Basel, Flamenco, Galatasaray, Liverpool FC will actually not be taking part in qualifying. Sadly for the fans of Liverpool, they had technical difficulties in the morning free practice and aren't able to get on track for the qualifying. They could take place in the race though, so they've got their work cut out. Olympiacos, Eindhoven, Anderlecht, Sevilla. That's Group A. Group B, AC Milan, El Ayan of the United Arab Emirates, AS Roma, Beijing, Dortmund, FC Porto, Rangers from Scotland, Corinthians from Brazil, and of course London's Tottenham Hotspur. Group B, definitely the strongest group, and it makes actually a lot more competitive for the actual qualifying which is about to take place. And I really do think it's hard actually at this stage. There's been very little testing time. You've done most of it. In terms of the test, Vallelunga, Barcelona and here at Donington, still a lot of cars not getting any more than, let's say, 20 laps. And on a brand new car, not easy, is it?
No, it's not. I mean, the cars are big cars and quite hard to work out initially. And there's a lot of work to be done on them. There is a lot of electronic, even though there is a big engine and there is no help electronic-wise for the driver. It's still a big car, and they haven't had a lot of time to prepare the cars, but still they're all there, they're all ready for the race. Apart from Liverpool, that's very sad. They had some technical problems this morning, but already the cars are super fast, as you can see, and it's going to be a very interesting qualifying. That's Group A, just started.
6 cars on track already for Group A. There are 7 in total, so 1 missing. Flamenco is the team we're watching at the moment. Takaroka leading them around, and a good strong package this, and obviously they need it to be. Brazilian fans will be really hoping that their team can come through.
Yeah, and we saw Sevilla just in front of Tucarosha from Flamengo. Sevilla the car driven by Borja Garcia, who was pretty fast this morning. He was in the top 5 consistently. And I think Tuca is already on a hot lap.
Nice thing is, and you know all these drivers, they're so hungry to get involved in this, because a lot of them were either not happy with the drive they were doing or had missed out in the Champ IndyCar shuffle, or like Robert Dombos were, again, Formula 1 drivers who again, got shaken up when teams changed. So there's a lot of guys who are really hungry to make a success of this for themselves.
Plus, they want to do well for their teams, because I know some of them are supporting the clubs, and it adds a great focus and ending for them to do well this weekend. So actually, they're all ready, going for it at the first race.
Okay, we're expecting the times to be in the low 119s. Nobody's really put in a proper lap yet. I think it's just a case of getting the tyres up to speed. Fastest man so far, PSV Eindhoven, 121.9. Also up there, 121.7 Sevilla, Borja Garcia for Sevilla FC. And
still Tucarosha pushing hard, climbing over the curbs, and here we've got Olympiacos just starting off, warming up the tyres, and behind him we have Al Ain. Is it Al Ain with...
yeah. Al Ain. And what is the key, Bruce, to a fast lap around here? We went out in the early morning session and you showed me the braking points, and it seems there's a massive difference between the guys who've really got themselves sorted and really the later braking guys were definitely putting the times in.
Yeah, they were, especially on the second part of the track. This part is really divided in two areas, which is the first area, which is very, very fast, where you have to find a good balance for the car, especially aerodynamically. And then the second part of the track, as that we went to see this morning, where the braking points are key. So it's a question of finding a good balance between the fast part of the track and the slow part of the track. All of that, including the fact that you have to find a momentum all around the track. And it's maybe not on the first lap that you'll see the quickest lap, but probably on the second one, carrying the momentum from the first lap.
8 minutes and 50 seconds to go in this first qualifying session. And it sees Sevilla, Eindhoven, Galatasaray, Anderlecht moving up to 4th fastest. And that's very impressive by them, because Anderlecht have had so little time, as we just see. I think it was Anderlecht going very wide there, yes, on board with them.
Yep, he probably missed half of a second by doing that. He ran very wide on the exit of turn 1. But it's a very interesting onboard camera, because he used a lot of the track going into the corner. Maybe a little bit too much. He was pushing a bit too hard.
Craig Dolby is the driver, and really enjoying a chance to drive for Anderlecht. The reason being, he was a champion in Formula Renault in Belgium, so he's absolutely up to scratch on what's all things Anderlecht. But he's actually from just down the road here in Melton Mowbray, so his family and friends have come up to watch him. But it was a last-minute call-up for him. Big opportunity. On we go then with Sevilla. Borja Garcia, definitely one of the favourites to go through into the qualifying section and the knockout section after this first A section you are watching. B's coming up, and the B we think is the stronger group, but certainly Borja I think will be in the top 4.
Yeah, Borja was already in the top 4 in the overall classification practice this morning, and he's the quickest just now. Just put in a 19.8, which is a very good lap indeed, and he's still pushing hard as we see on board. He's probably gonna try to better that lap, and it looks quite quick, nicely on the apex there, early on the power, and we'll soon have an answer. 19.8 is definitely quick. He's already 2/10 quicker than the position 2 driver, which is Olympiacos. No mistake in the chicane. I have to remind you that this guy is very powerful, quite heavy as well, lots of power. Hard to control the car going into the corner, hard to go back on the power without making a mistake. So we'll see very interesting races, and so far he's doing well.
One more corner to go then for Borja Garcia and Sevilla FC. A little bit of a moment there as he went into Jones. He lost 2 wide there. He's lost some tenths, but let's see if he can hold on to it. He's the fastest so far, and he crosses the line. He wasn't as quick. 1:20.066. Sevilla, of course, the UEFA Cup winners in 2005, 2006. And 2007, so a lot to live up for the Sevilla team. They are riding on a high at the moment. Can their racing team do the same? 6 minutes to go. Here's how it stands. Sevilla, Olympiacos, the Greek team, up there. PSV Eindhoven with Yama Berman up there in 3rd place. Galatasaray, who looked good in the free practice, up to 4th place. RSC Anderlecht in 5th, and Flamenco in 6th place. Liverpool, of course, pulling out. If you've just joined us, Liverpool FC not making qualifying. That does not mean they are out of the race weekend. They had a technical problem early in the first session, just actually right in front of us as they came out of the foggy S's, and they parked it up there. Adrian Baez out of the car. There was a funny story about that actually. He got out of the car and the marshal went to pick him up and he said, "I'm not taking you back, I'm a Chelsea fan."
Actually, I'm a little bit disappointed by the Galatasaray performance, because he was up there this morning on the first Thursday as well. And he's only 4th. He did a 20.2, and I would have expected him to be in the 19s. And he's done his 4 laps. Maybe going to try to carry on to do an extra lap. He's still on the track, trying hard. So we'll watch him, because he should be faster than that.
Bruce, like the rest of the world, tuning in. Nobody really knows, because of the car and the combination of drivers and the team, who is going to be favourite. Who in your mind, you've driven the car, you know most of these drivers, you've beaten and driven against most of them. Who do you see as being the ultimate package right now? Liverpool would have been one of them.
Yeah, Liverpool has done very well in the testing, and it's a shame they're not taking part in there in the qualifying. I hope they will be able to join the race. Liverpool's going to be good. Sevilla is going to be fast. AC Milan and Galatasaray have a very good team behind them, working well in the car. And of course, Robert Donkers is very experienced. But watch out on Dortmund as well with Nelson Philippe, who's a great driver. He has a lot of experience with his big, powerful car. And as well, I mean, there's plenty of them. Rangers and FC Porto are going to be strong as well. So it's going to be a very interesting race.
Sevilla have done a 1:19.8. Olympiacos, who you're watching on screen now, a 1:20.035. Those two are both going through as it stands. Galatasaray are on the bubble effectively. They are in 4th position, and they've got to watch out for some quick laps coming. Time running out though in Group A, just 4 minutes to go. And what if a lap is 1:19? That's not too many laps. It's just a couple of flying laps to go for the teams who want to get through and into the knockout stages. So Anderlecht and Flamenco, and that would be disaster for the Brazilians if they couldn't go through. Their fastest time so far at 1:24.3.
Yeah, they should do better than that. I mean, all the teams were close in the 20s. So hopefully Flamengo is going to be able to put another lap in. I think Sevilla stopped. They're back into the park, saving the tyres for the...
That's another point, yeah. They're trying to save... Yes. Too many laps, they want to save the tyres, because if you go all the way through to the final, you don't want to waste your tyres off. We're looking backwards from PSV Eindhoven. Definitely one of the favourites as we see Sevilla pulling in. And, yeah, PSV Eindhoven at 1:19.8. They've gone into 1:19. So Yama Berman, good job. Dutch team, Dutch driver, just as it should be. And he is really excited about this opportunity.
Yeah, only 500ths of a second, so it shows you how tight it is and how good the level of drivers is actually, because you've got big cars, not easy to control, and still they're in the same tenth of a second. So it was just for Borja Garcia with Sevilla. Just did an extra 6th lap and did a very good lap indeed. So Sevilla, PSV Eindhoven, Olympiacos and Galatasaray, the 4 of them should step up.
And Galatasaray have got the most to worry about. Alessandro Perguidi doing out there for the Scudari play team will not, there he is, will not want to finish 4th for sure, simply because they'll be up against the winners of Group B, and that is a very strong group. So Galatasaray will be desperate to try and get ahead of Olympiacos, 2 massive rivals in Europe, of course, those 2 huge teams.
And well, here he is pushing, still on the hot lap, trying to notch out a couple of tenths. Last corner, nice and tidy, nice apex. Now he's coming back into the pits.
So that's not going to be the quick lap, and Galatasaray will stay in 4th position, but only 0.2 off the fastest time so far. And remember, the times are important. Yes, it's a group situation, but you want to finish as high as you possibly can, as the final grid will be decided. All 17 cars tomorrow.
So he's going to be facing the fastest car from Group B, which is going to be a very fast car.
So less than 2 minutes to go in the session, and that pretty much ends it, unless there's anybody still circulating, going round past the checkered flag before it's over. But as it stands, Sevilla, Eindhoven, Olympiacos and Galatasaray are through to the knockout stages. Anderlecht and Flamenco are going home, or at least obviously further down the grid.
Drivers checking the lap times. That's Jelmer Berman from PSV Eindhoven, who should be pleased with his performance. Very, very close to Sevilla.
I would have thought there's a lot of relief. They've had so much time to talk about this and get ready for this.
Yes.
Questions whether they'd be running, who would be in the teams and all the rest of it. Finally, we're racing, and I think that's, for all you drivers, that's the most natural situation for you. And you can see there he is, PSV Eindhoven, got the full kit on, and he's really relishing this because he's an Eindhoven fan.
Yeah, it's good for them that and for all of us to be in the race already and starting the race format, and now they can focus on their job for the weekend.
So then, Jelmer Berman, who you look at now, is out of the car for Eindhoven, has done a good job. He's done almost an identical time to Sevilla. They both in the 1:19.8s. We'll see if we can get quicker times. The conditions pretty much the same. Olympiacos will go through to, and so will Galatasaray SK in 4th place. Disappointment then for RSC Anderlecht. Actually, I'm not that disappointed for them, simply because they hadn't even run until the 2nd session this morning. So Craig Dolby did a good job actually just putting Anderlecht on the board. So no harm done there. Flamenco, though, the team that has lost out the most. That was the biggest moment, and that was Craig Dolby.
Yes.
But a few lockups, a few guys pushing, and Galatasaray, you saw there, just using the curbs and more of them.
The marker posts as well.
Yep.
Those marker posts are never going to stay there during the race.
No,
I can
don't
tell
think
you
so.
the way they push, the way they want to get the results in the lap time, those marker posts are off very quickly. For information, this morning the best lap time which was achieved in qualifying was an 18.9 by Group B driver David Erigon. So the lap time that we just saw from Borja Garcia and from PSV Eindhoven, Sevilla and PSV Eindhoven are pretty fast.
Yeah. We're looking at AS Roma, and this is my outside chance. I've known Enrico Teccocello for a long, long time now. Followed his career in A1, of course, racing for Italy, and in Formula 3000, where he was successful there too. This is a great opportunity for him. He grew up following AS Roma. He went to the matches. He lived and breathed it like every Italian does. But there is the Group A finish. Sevilla with the top of the table, the fastest time. Eindhoven and Olympiacos and Galatasaray. Anderlecht and Flamenco will drop further down the grid. So it all started then a few minutes ago, the beautiful race, and we're in the middle of qualifying. Olympiacos on board with them, and they did a very good lap indeed to qualify. And Bruce, as we go into Redgate and see this circuit again, see how he's finding the car and how comfortable he is in it.
That's the PSV Eindhoven car, Jelmer Berman, very aggressive turning into the Redgate corner. He's going flat out down those corners, clips the apex there, no problem. He could have been a bit faster on the exit because he still had some room to go over the curb. So he could have done a bit better there, maybe half a tenth. Fine going into McLean's, actually good entry speed, good on the curb, no room on the exit, that was a good one. Copies very hard, clips the apex, maybe a bit too much of the apex, but that's fast, that's good, that's okay. Reaches the curb there, perfect. Top speed seems right. He lines the car up against the white line, sends the car over the curb, not too aggressively initially, but the second part of the chicane is good. And then that's where you really have to be careful with the car, because the car is very heavy. You have to stop, not miss the apex, and he gets to the apex properly. We can see the steering wheel, no oversteer on the power, which is pretty good, so he controlled the throttle very well. And going into Goddard's, diving into the inside, a little bit of an oversteer on turning, and good exit over the curb, good traction there. That was a good lap.
Yeah, that was Sevilla going strong. PSV.
Yeah, PSV, and yeah,
they qualified second, and obviously Jan Berman, we saw him out of the car there, going down the Craner curves, and a lot of G-force through there, and Jan Berman going down towards the old hairpin.
Yeah, he can be pleased with his lap. I mean, it was a good lap, no mistakes. Could have been a little bit quicker, a little bit faster through the old hairpin, but the rest of the lap was pretty good, I have to say. Nice view of the track. And that was Borja's probably quick lap. Good on the power. You can see the car moving a lot. It's very hard work to control the throttle, to control the 750 brake horsepower from the V12. Gives a hard time to the driver, but that's where it's all about. It's only down to the driver to get the lap time.
Borja Garcia definitely going to be one of the favourites this weekend, racing for Sevilla, the young man from Valencia, although he does actually sport Sevilla. He's a big friend and favourite of the goalkeeper for Sevilla.
Copies, perfect apex moment. You can see oversteer on the power, so he probably went very fast down on the throttle, which produced great top speed at the end of the straight. Let's have a look at the chicane. Very hard on the brakes. You can see the car diving down on the brakes. Perfect, clipping the curb on both left and right corners. And let's see how he did manage the hairpin very well. Very close to the curb, not climbing them. Nice and tidy. Doesn't look very fast on TV. It's perfect at that time. If you see the car moving, you're losing time. And diving well into Goddard's last corner. A little bit wide, actually. That was a second quickest lap time for Borja. Goes through the line and reaches probably 260 kilometers in that short straight.
So those are the highlights of Group A, and Sevilla the fastest, as you saw there. PSV Eindhoven right there with them, very close times indeed. Olympiacos going through, and likewise Galatasaray. Unfortunately, Anderlecht and Flamenco not going through to the knockout stages. Of course, they will be on the group. Here's Group B, and this is what's coming up now. AC Milan, LAN, AS Roma, Beijing, Dortmund, Porto, Rangers, Corinthians and Tottenham. The bigger group. 8 teams in this, 15 minutes to go for it, and it's anybody's game. And I'll tell you what, I'll give you an outside bet. People won't expect me to say this. Beijing.
Well, I was going to say Beijing too. I think he was looking very strong when we went to go and have a look this morning at the braking points. He was doing a very good job. AC Milan, that you see just now on TV, is going to do a good job as well, because he was always there. Second in testing this morning. But Roma's there as well. Has been very strong. Nelson Philippe is there for Dortmund as well, so it's going to be very, very tight in that Group B.
Yeah, you're looking at AC Milan, of course, who've probably done more testing than anybody else. Robert Dornbos, plenty of experience, the ex-Formula 1 driver, and it's going to be interesting. Dornbos definitely up. He hasn't actually driven in anger for about a year now, so he was so hungry to get on board and get driving and prove what he's got, because he's a very, very good driver, and he got mixed in the shuffle. But now, again, SuperLeague has given him this lifeline, and AC Milan, what better team, what bigger team to represent, and he supports them.
Yeah, he does. We went around the track, we walked the track together, and he really wants to do well the weekend. He knows the car, loves it, and Play Team has done a good job with the car, so I think they look very strong.
We'll be keeping an eye on the split times if we can see them, and
it's going to be first fast lap going to start just now for Robert. Let's go.
Here we go then. We kick off in anger effectively from the Super League in Group B, the bigger group. And we reckon the more competitive group. AC Milan, definitely one of the favourites, up against Tottenham Hotspur. Al Ain of the United Arab Emirates will hold their own, especially with Zuber driving the car. Milan looking for their first major flying lap, and Dornbos knows that he can't have too many mistakes here, because you've got to get whatever laps you're doing, you've got to do it at 2, maybe 3 laps.
Yeah, you have to do it as fast as possible, because then you have to keep the tires if you go through the top 4, if you go through the finals. So you really have to kind of save the tires. Those Michelin tires are very picky, so you've got 2 laps where it's very, very grippy, they're performing very well. Hard to do a mistake, but you really have to push yourself to go over the limit, over the tire limit, and find the lap time and do it as fast as possible. A little bit of understeer there, not enough front tire temperature on that first lap, so it might be the second. Yeah, you see he just had a
well,
it's going down.
He doesn't want to have a car in front of him because he knows he can't get past.
Yeah,
He's ruined his lap.
Exactly.
So he's aborted that lap, and quite good tactics from Robert Dornbos, keeping a cool head in the car. I was just about to say he's about to get into traffic, and this is his first fast lap. He'll give him what, maybe 10 seconds, wind himself up, and as he crosses the line, that's the lap that will count for him coming up.
Exactly, and he knows it was not probably the ultimate lap he was aborting, so he could still abort it and have a good go on the second lap, and he gets more temperature into the front tires. And there you go. All of them are on the fast lap. That's Adrian Zuber for Al-Ain, who was looking strong, very experienced driver, very fast.
Tottenham Hotspur just behind him.
So they're
Duncan Tappy driving for him. For Tottenham Hotspur, another English lad, lives actually just outside London in Surrey, and really relishing this opportunity. Up towards McLean's they come. We're on board with Al-Ain and Andreas Zuber, Andy Zuber from Austria. And Al-Ain, United Arab Emirates, they've got their TV crew here this weekend, very excited about the prospect of racing in SuperLeague Formula as he comes out of Coppice and down under the famous Dunlop Bridge, down towards the braking point and hard on the brakes, and here and into second gear through the foggy Essex.
Yeah, he went very fast into Coppice, but it took him a bit of time to go back on the power, so it's always a balance going fast in. Fast out is hard, so if you go too fast in, you struggle going back on the power and reverse as well. But there, a little bit of a moment on the throttle, but still it looked to me as a fast lap. We'll soon have an answer.
Wow, we're about to see AC Milan finish their lap as they come across the line. AC Milan does go second quickest, a 120.3. Here's Rangers getting well out of shape.
And a spin there from the Rangers. Ray and DL, as I said, the car is hard to get into the corners, a little bit heavy from the back, so you really have to take your time. When you start to have an oversteering moment entering the corners, you really have to slow the car down and take your time. Nice Roma crossing the line again. Oh!
Beijing Guan has gone fastest, no surprise, and 18.8, fastest time we've had so far, and he's well ahead of AS Roma on 1:19.6. So, brilliant stuff from Beijing. They could create a real sensation here. I don't think the organisers were expecting perhaps that Beijing would be one of the fastest teams, but then again, as we know, China has come in the Olympics daughters that, and these guys are going to be in the Olympic Stadium from now on. So what a time to start showing. Well, this bird is flying, that's for sure, and it's about to rest in the birdcage.
Yeah, 18.8 is super fast, very good lap. He's 7/10 quicker than Enrico Tocciello from AS Roma, and AC Milan, so he's third with 1:20.2. In the top 4, which is important, Tottenham Hotspurs 20.5, very, very tight behind him, only in a 20.57, so only 700ths of a second behind him is Al-Ain. And everything's moving. Beijing still leading. AS Roma, Al-Ain just got third.
Al-Ain moving up to third place. We're watching Tristan Gomendy, and well, we might be, because FC Porto are in 6th place at the moment. So Porto need a lap out of this. Only the top 4 going through, and it's Beijing, Roma, Al-Ain, and AC Milan at the moment. Glasgow Rangers with that spin, moving up to 6th now. Tottenham Hotspur out of the top 4, so some massive teams. And Porto in trouble as well as we go on board down the Grenadier curves with Beijing.
AC Milan down in 4th. Borussia Dortmund just got 5th, but that's not good enough to go into the top 4. It was a 120.3. He needs to find 2.5 tenths to get into that top 4, which is so important.
And once again, Brazilian giants Corinthians struggling as we keep watching Beijing, who are top of the board with that 1:18.7. It just doesn't get any better. There you see Corinthians all the way down there at the back, and likewise Flamenco having not such a great time. To be fair to both those teams though, wherever you're watching and wherever you're tuning in, I know there's a lot of fans tuning in. They have not had the test time. They will come good. They've got great drivers. They've got great teams. But it's early days yet for all the guys in Super League. Slow spin there. Well, just as Beijing were getting it all right, they've now got it all wrong. They spin at the Melbourne loop. And luckily he kept it going, because if you do stall these cars, Bruce, there's no restarting. You're stuck out there.
Exactly. You have an outside starter for the car. So if you make a spin, if you don't press the clutch, you stall the engine, it's over for you. So Beijing with an 18.7 should go back to the pits now and should save his tyres. See, he didn't control the oversteer early enough, and it's direct punishment.
V12 making beautiful sounds around the Donington circuit, harping back to the good old days of Donington Park. And it's a wonderful place to spectate as well, built in hills and dales around the Derbyshire countryside. As we take a look at car number 19, that is Tottenham Hotspur.
Yep. So the drivers there are strategically looking a little bit better than in the Group A, because Beijing is back into the pits after only 4 laps, so he saved his tyres. AS Roma with Tocacello did 5 laps, came back to the pits, so they're saving their tyres for the second part of qualifying. Just as a reminder, Sevilla pole position in Group A did 6 laps. And is it raining or?
I think that, well, that could be interesting, because if it is, that changes everything. But a few drops there, certainly on the camera lens of the onboard. It could be water or debris or some sort of oil perhaps coming up from the car going past, because it doesn't look, certainly looking out of the commentary booth, that it's raining. And I'm sure we'll get a report from the cameraman as Rangers go through, and a very slow going number 22, that is AS Roma.
Probably talking with his engineer about
just when to go, yeah, so he's comfortable.
Yep.
It's all tactical, this. You've just got to pick the right space to go in. Remember, coming up is a shootout afterwards, where it's 2 cars on track. At this point, everybody's allowed to do as many laps as they want in the 15-minute session. There are 6 minutes to go, and Enrico Tocacello bringing AS Roma in to the pits as we take a look at Dortmund for the first time.
I think they probably decided to stop the session to save their tyres for the second round.
I talked to Enrico about this yesterday, and that's exactly what he said. He was going to put a marker in, and if it was good enough, and that is second place, 1:19.5, he was going to sit there and wait, because his philosophy is, fine, I go second quickest, I'll stay second quickest, keep my tyres ready. If I get through to the final, I'll have better tyres than the guys had to pound around all day long just to get into the top 4.
Exactly, which is a good tactic, actually. You have to save those tyres, then the race is going to be long as well. You will do the race with only 1 set of tyres, so if you still want to be competitive at the end of the race, you have to think about your tyres every lap. Nelson Philippe driving for Borussia Dortmund.
A real coup to get Nelson Philippe. He's been really successful in the States, again missing out when the 2 series formed together in the USA, but Nelson Philippe very successful over there.
Yeah, race winner in Champ Car.
Absolutely, and picked up this drive at the last minute. Delighted to get it, really hungry too.
And there he goes, P4. He gets into the second part of qualifying, and he pushes AC Milan out of the top 4.
That's big news. Borussia Dortmund then pushing AC Milan down to 5th place. And, well, certainly AS Roma, Tocacello will wait for a while now. But Tottenham Hotspur still out of it. FC Porto with Tristan Gomedy got work to do in 7th place. And Rangers, after that spin, have to get going. They're in 8th place. Corinthians are nowhere. A 1:21.1 by then. They're 3 seconds off the pace. But then again, they've hardly had any testing.
Yeah, that's correct. And you need some testing to get the lap time in. I mean, very interesting how tight it is on the top 4. Apart from Beijing, who's 18.7, who was flying this morning, AS Roma has done 19.56, then Alpine 19.64, and then Borussia Dortmund 19.67. So only a few hundreds of a second between all of those cars. And then we've got David Erigon still trying to go quicker. I don't really understand what's the point, but he probably wants to adjust the car a bit more for the race and find some balancing in the car, probably.
Well, I don't suppose he's only done 5 laps, and I don't suppose he's.
Yeah,
well, maybe he is not worried about the tyres.
No, maybe he's very confident.
Seems so, anyway.
Yep.
David Erigon on the move for Beijing. This is the fastest car of the day so far. The sun coming out here at Donington, and it's shining on Beijing. The green and white colours of Guan. I saw several guests from Guan watching on this morning in the free practice, up early having their English bacon sandwiches. Chinese were taking photographs and very excited, very thrilled to see their colours. And of course very excited by the V12 noise, and it is quite exceptional. If you haven't heard it, it really is a beautiful sound, and it's a long time since we've heard that. But this, a brand new bespoke engine by MCT, and it's doing a pretty good job right now as Beijing come out of the Melbourne Loop towards Gerrard's.
With a very distinctive driving style for Davide Rigon, who has a lot of experience in 3000, a heavy car as well. He really goes very fast into the corner, very early turning point, stops the car, makes a V, points the car out of the corner and bangs the throttle. And typical of his driving style. He just did another lap in the 18s, 18.9, which is 2/10 off his best lap, which puts him in pole position, but it's still good enough for a second pole position that time.
Yeah, and just to put the emphasis on this, I think the times in Group B so much faster than in Group A. So at the moment, Beijing are looking overall as a possible favourite to take it all if they keep at this pace.
Yeah, they do look very strong. I mean, he's 8/10 quicker than number 2 driver, which is Tocacello with AS Roma, who himself is quicker than the pole sitter in the Group A. So it's going to be very interesting. Definitely the strongest group this morning.
Here are the Spurs. Tottenham Hotspur, FA Cup final winners so many times, and of course multiple trophies in the 60s and 70s, one of the biggest names in football.
Very good lap time, P3 jumps into the top 4, and Al Ain as well jumps into the top 4, and AC Milan just did the second fastest lap time with a 19.1.
This is getting to be a really exciting. I said it was the group of death, and it's just about to prove so. Beijing still out on top. AC Milan, as you say, have gone second. Right with them, their arch rivals, AS Roma. Tottenham are in the top 4. That's who you're watching. Suddenly, Dortmund have gone, Al Ain have gone, and Porto still have not shown. Glasgow Rangers have gone to the bottom of the pile, and Rangers fans, given they're playing Celtic tomorrow, will want them up there in the top 4.
Definitely, yeah, good lap from AC Milan, good lap from Tottenham as well. Duncan Cappy driving for Tottenham just got there this weekend. He's learning very fast, doing very well, improving every session. And there you go, he's rewarded, top 4.
Yeah, Duncan Toppy putting it into the top 4. So Spurs go into a quarter-final berth for now. There are less than a minute to go in this one, so it's all about the cars that are on track right now to change the positions of Beijing, AC Milan, AS Roma and Tottenham. That's who's in. Will Al Ain or Dortmund or Porto put another lap in? Don't think it's going to come from Corinthians or Glasgow. All of them have actually done more laps, I think.
And Dortmund goes again for a quick lap. He goes again, goes through the line, so maybe we're going to see him. He has enough time, 20 seconds left, but he has enough time to finish the lap.
Zuba out of the car, he's not going to run again. And that, of course, is Al Ain. And watching on, they are in 5th place, and that's disappointment for Andy Zuba. He will be disappointed. The only thing that can change things now is Borussia Dortmund. We've seen them in the top 4 earlier, and now this lap, all important. Can they knock Tottenham off their perch or any of the others? Because they are the only team now that can stop the top 4 being Beijing, AC Milan, AS Roma and Spurs.
Power. Yeah, that looks okay. He was good in McLean's, not super fast in copies, but still looked tidy. Very hard on the brakes, as late as possible, no mistakes there. Yeah, he fights the steering wheel a little bit, but it's okay. Good exit. Only 2 corners to go. The clock is at 0. When he crosses the finish line, it'll be the end. Okay, no mistake going to the hairpin. Yes, very aggressive on the power. Slides, power the cars out of the corner. Nice slide.
This is it. We're into injury time, as it were, because this is the last corner. If he wants to get into the quarterfinals, it's all about this. Can he get to the line? He crosses the line, and it's not quick enough.
No, 19.8. He stays in P6. So we've got the top 4 with Beijing, AC Milan, AS Roma and Tottenham Hotspurs.
Not that much of a surprise, although I am surprised to see FC Porto with Tristan Gomedy not getting further up. But it's not too bad, and I feel for Glasgow Rangers.
Yeah, FC Porto had a hard time yesterday. They had a little problem on the car, and they missed some track time, which is a shame. But they looked good.
There is the result then for Group B. Beijing Guoan of the top team, ASC Milan in 2nd quickest, AS Roma 3rd, Tottenham 4th. They go through. Al Ain, Dortmund not quite doing it in the dying moments. FC Porto, Corinthians and Rangers therefore will be further down the grid after the quarterfinals are over. So it's going to be a real tussle in the midfield. So there you go. I said Beijing could be the team to watch, and it is the team to watch, and there it is. You might be seeing that car a lot this season, so congratulations to Beijing. And don't forget, these are what happened just a moment ago in Group B. Tottenham on board with them, and they went up to 4th place, and it was a good run, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a very good run from Duncan Tapi. He's learning about the car, and very powerful car for him because he just hasn't got a lot of experience at this level. But he did a very good job, and I had a little chat with him this morning, and he's getting more and more confident. He has a good run into the old airplane, going up to McLean's, good line. We swapped cars now. That's AS Roma.
Third fastest Roma we're watching now, and of course that Enrico Toccacello not holding back as he never does, and really pushing it as he heads towards McLean's.
Very good line in McLean's. Clips the curb very well. Power again. Up into the blind corner there. Copies. Has a bit of a misses the apex slightly, and you see he struggles to get back on the power. So could have maybe done a little bit better than what he achieved. And then very hard on the brakes. 4.2 Gs inline braking. Very, very strong brakes on that car. Good exit there. Good lap. I mean, all those guys were so tight in terms of lap time. They haven't done any mistake on their laps. It's just a few bits and pieces here and there that could have been bettered a little bit. Here he loses a little bit of time on the power as well. You see the steering wheel being the opposite way on the opposite lock. And last corner, she does.
So basically an improvement out of Coppice, and that could have been a much quicker lap. It was 3rd fastest that lap, but it's put him through to the quarters. AC Milan, of course, with Robert Dornbos taking 2nd place, and we expected this though. Robert and his team have been out in testing a lot, and we expected them to be competitive and at least get them through to the first quarter-final.
Yes, this lap just now, it was the early laps where he performed well. He was already in the top 4 by then. Very, very clean, and you see the car is very stable, as you can see on the images there. Again, very similar lines between the drivers, all very professional. You can see very hardly a difference there. Clips a little bit less of a curb than Enrico Toccacello, but then clips well the curb there, the apex. Not so much, but just nice and tidy. And again, in the straight, so fast. That car is really, really fast, 280 kilometers per hour. And it's not such a long straight. Braked super late there over the curb, and he had to abort that lap. He was on a very hot lap initially, and he had to stop because he has some traffic. He had some traffic in front of him, and it's a shame because he could have been a bit better probably. Beijing doing a very good job. David Erigon flying this morning. Most of his laps were the fastest laps, and all of them could have put him in pole position. Only Robert Dornbos got only 4/10 away from him, which is miles away.
And here is a look at the team leaders, if you like. Beijing at the moment, fastest lap, 118.7, and very impressive indeed throughout the session actually, because they kept on out there, and Beijing doing 7 laps in all, and they're really good. Definitely a little bit of spin there, but he kept it going on.
Yeah. Now, after that, he made a good lap still. That's a small mistake, but that's always going to happen when you're pushing hard to try to get pole position. He was already on pole position by then, but you keep trying. They're doing a good job, and they're on the limit of the car all the time.
Yep, they've won the China Football Association Cup in 96 and 97, have Guan, and in fact, relatively compared to the other teams, a younger team, but they're certainly going to make their name in Super League. And as I said, with that wonderful new stadium in Beijing for them to play their football in, it's a very exciting time for their team. Group B then, there was the result. Beijing on top, ahead, amazingly, and they'll love that result, of AC Milan, AS Roma and Tottenham Hotspur. Those guys go through, those teams go through L.A., Dortmund, Porto, Corinthians and Rangers. Let's just remind you of what happened in Group A.
PSV Eindhoven here on his good lap that we saw on board. PSV Eindhoven finished 2nd, only a few hundreds behind Sevilla, who was the quickest. Gelmer Berman there, driving well the car, discovering the car as well, learning around. And you could see here as well, that's the place where the lap time can be done, can be bettered. That's the old airplane, and he wasn't on the curb at that place, so it could have been a bit quite quicker. If he does change that, then he'll be fast in the quarterfinals.
Yes, and of course, it was a smaller group, but Eindhoven very strong in it, and of course, Sevilla likewise. Borja Garcia, the other top driver in there. Jalmar Berman at the wheel here for PSV Eindhoven. And a few surprises there too. Corinthians not as quick as Flamenco not as quick as we expected. And again, early days though. This only the first qualifying session. Not a lot of testing time, but
still a good job. I mean, they're up there, and it's very, very tight. I would have expected the lap times to be, the grid to be spread into a wider range of lap times, but no, it's very, very tough and already very tight.
So continuing to look at the end of this lap, and Olympiacos going across the line. And this is PSV. They were second, and in terms of what you've seen now, you've seen everybody in anger. We're looking at the results from Group A and the top guys from Group A. Who do you see as being the real challengers to go all the way to the final?
Well, I think AS Roma saved their tyres, so they're going to be strong. AC Milan found a good balance towards the end of the run, so they're going to be strong as well, because his tyres were already a little bit older than the others, and still he was very fast. For sure, the man to beat is David Erigon with Beijing.
Okay, so Beijing, AS Roma, that's the prediction from Bruce Giuani, and he should know he's driven this car and knows these drivers better than anybody else in the world. Sadly though, he's sitting next to me. He wants to be out there. I can see him chomping at the bit. He's doing every gear change right here, watching every moment. But PSV Eindhoven, Jalmar Berman doing a very good job in Group A. He will be a feature in the quarterfinals. And second fastest, that means they'll play right and drive against third place from Group B.
We could have a surprise as well from the car, which is Borja Garcia, because he saved his tyres as well. He only did 6 laps, and he's been up there in every sessions so far. And Borja has a lot of experience. He's a very reliable driver, makes very few mistakes, and he might be up there as well.
Well, and it'll be interesting to see. Borja is a smart driver too, but it has to be said that all of Group A was slower than Group B. Everybody in Group B, I know it was more competitive and it was a little bit more dramatic, and I think everybody knew that. Maybe there was a little bit more adrenaline flowing because of it. But Borja Garcia, could he have gone quicker?
I think you have to take in account the fact that there was probably a little bit more rubber on the track in the Group B, and that the temperature was a little bit higher. Plus, he made a slight mistake on exiting Goddard's, the last hairpin. So I think he could have been a little bit quicker, and I think he might be up there as well.
So these are the scenes from Donington Park. Bruce Giuani and Jonathan Green bringing you the action of qualifying, the first ever qualifying. There's the result of Group A. Sevilla were top, Eindhoven was second. Olympiacos and Galatasaray made up the 4 that would go through to qualifying. Anderlecht and Flamenco were not able to get through. Anderlecht, though, to be fair, hardly any time in the car whatsoever, and likewise Flamenco not getting a lot of laps. And talking of Flamenco, we've got some Brazilian dancing going on in the pits and paddock. There's the English flag in the tent. Yeah, the English. Who says the stereotypes? There they are, stuck on the hill, tent built, ready for the thing. And here is the quarter-final draw. Sevilla take on Tottenham of Great Britain. Galatasaray taking on Beijing. So Galatasaray will be up. They were fastest in free practice at one point. PSV Eindhoven are up against AS Roma. That's who Bruce Giuani says could be his favourite. So that's going to be interesting. Olympiacos up against Milan. So Olympiacos and Milan doesn't get any bigger in football terms. It's certainly looking pretty good and pretty tasty in motor racing terms too. See there, as we see the paddock and the guys doing their tricks in the paddock, you notice SAS Racing, okay, you've got your advert in, but you notice that the trucks actually are parked away from the paddock, and that is new. Robin Webb very proud of that, and the organisers very proud of that fact that they've absolutely cleared the paddock to allow the fans. It's very similar to American racing, and you know what I'm talking about. They allow everybody to see how the mechanics are working, get up close to the drivers, get their autograph, whatever it is, and I'm all for that. And this new Super League is all about inclusivity, and I definitely think that's a way forward as we head now for the first quarter final. This head-to-head, Bruce, you've had a lot of time to think about how this is going to work. 2 cars on the track, setting 1 lap. Of course, they have to do a warm-up lap, and then it's a flying lap.
Yes.
Sevilla, in this one, how do you go about it?
Well, you get out of the pit lane, and instantly you have to push hard. You have to keep the temperatures up get as much temperature into the front tires to keep the temperature up in the rear tires is pretty easy because you've got 750 horsepower under the throttle pedal. So you just go for it from the start. You really have to push. The earlier you push, the earlier you get your eye into the speed as well, and that's it. That's it basically. And I'm sure Borja will be strong in that one.
The Spanish driver, definitely one of the favourites pre-season. They're up against Tottenham Hotspur though. Duncan Tappy has also had a good run. He hasn't had the experience in the car of Borja, and Sevilla will hopefully, it's a one knockout now to go through the semi-final, so it's a really very important lap. This is the warm-up lap, but you can't be really slow on the warm-up lap because you want the tyres up to temperature, don't you?
Yes, you have to push here. You can see actually Borja is on it already just now. He's pushing hard. You can see the car's moving because the tyre temperature go low if you're not pushing. So he has to push immediately as he comes out of the pit lane.
So it's Sevilla FC from Spain against Tottenham Hotspur of Great Britain and London.
Warming up the tyres.
An English driver and a Spanish driver representing the passions and hopes of these two amazing football teams. Sevilla coming out of the Melbourne Loop, about to start their flying lap.
Going into Goddard. He really has to slow the car down and try to get the best exit possible. Yeah, steering wheel straight, power down the line. There he goes.
Okay, that's kicked off then the qualifying for the quarterfinals. A chance to go to the semi-finals for Sevilla. They're up against Tottenham Hotspur. The clock ticks away now. You can see both of the times as they will dive through, and we'll be finding out who is the quickest of these two. Whoever gets the quickest time goes through to the semi-finals. Sevilla looking good with Borja Garcia. Tidy so far, Bruce.
Yes, good. Not so fast on the exit of the old opening, but good into Redgate into the first corner. Looking very clean, no mistakes so far.
Work to do for Tottenham Hotspur. They're down after the first sector, so Duncan Tappy's really got to work for Spurs and their fans because they're 0.163, but that's enough to catch up in a long lap here.
Yeah, only 1.5 tenths is nothing. You can really easily make the difference with the three last corners. Chicane and the last two hairpins, and we're seeing just now Borja in the chicane. He does well, has a good exit, no problem there. He's probably still leading. We're going to know very soon.
46.8, he's chasing 47, he's down again. So this is a chance. Sevilla about to go through to the semi-finals. Borja Garcia, he makes a mistake there, it's not over yet. Tottenham have got a chance before the end of this lap. If he gets Gerrard's right, he might be okay, but he's going to be breathing deep, I'm sure.
And a little bit wide again, exiting the last hairpin for Borja.
The nerves starting to show. Borja Garcia crosses the line for Sevilla. His time, a 1:19.4. We're waiting on Tottenham Hotspur. That was quick compared to Group A's last time. Tottenham Hotspur were, of course, fourth fastest in Group B, but that could be good enough. Crosses the line, 1:19.6. Just 2 tenths off it. Great stuff by Tottenham Hotspur, and they just missed out to a semi-final berth. Sevilla go through. Wow, what a great lap.
Good job from both of them. I mean, both of them did a very, very good lap time. So they were waiting for those for the final, for the quarterfinal, to put in all they got.
And you know what? I mean, they've got radio contact, and as this develops as a sport, I would have thought, you know, you can tell your driver, yeah, he's made a mistake halfway through the lap. You're on it. You're still in this. Yeah. And they, of course, know roughly. They've got it on their. Presumably, you've got it on your steering wheel. You really know where you are, or you can probably feel how quick you are.
You have it on your steering wheel. You have the lap time on the steering wheel, and you have the split time on the steering wheel as well. So you know where you are. And yes, your engineer can speak to you and can tell you that you're only a tenth away.
This is the one I'm looking forward to. Galatasaray against Beijing as they line up. We know how quick Beijing are. Galatasaray were quick in the practice this morning, but it's now any man's game. Penalty shootout.
I have my money on Beijing.
Okay, yeah, me too. Fair enough. And interestingly, of course, just to explain again how they line up, the reason, or the choice is given to the faster driver as to whether he wants to go out first or go out second. And I understand why Beijing would want to go second, because you can gauge then how the first sector has gone for the guy in front of you.
Yes, plus you can, on that track, you have some places where you can actually see the car in front of you, and you see if you're actually going faster or slower.
And I would have thought it would be more intimidating to go out first, because you just don't know what's going on behind. And if you make a mistake, it's in your mind that the man behind you may not have made a mistake.
Exactly. And if the guy in front of you makes a mistake, then your engineer can speak to you and can say, take your time to finish the lap, or not take your time, but just be aware that you don't have to push yourself too hard. They're going to be out soon.
You're watching the quarterfinal race-off here in the SuperLeague Formula, the first ever here at Donington Park. We are going around Europe, 6 races in all. A fascinating new combination of football and motor racing. And this, an interesting and unique way of deciding the pole position. There's been lots of different permutations of how to do that over the years. This, I certainly think, is one of the most interesting. Alan Docking, one of the veterans of motor racing and running one of the teams here, just watching on there. The Australian who's been racing here in England a long, long time.
Oh, yes, yes. Alan Docking running one of the famous teams in British Formula 3 and A1GP as well, and all those series. Is very, very experienced. And he was just having a look at the Beijing car, being a little bit curious on the car setup, probably.
Yeah, how much can you read from just actually looking at the outside of the car in terms of how they've set their car up?
You can have a look at the front wishbone pickup points, and you can have a look at the downforce of the car. That's roughly what you can, how much information you can gather from being outside of the car. Everything else is covered.
Turkey's Galatasaray out on track. The driver, Alessandro Perguidi of Italy. Great opportunity for him
to show well in single-seaters. He has a lot of experience in GT cars. And David Erigon just behind him, going up the hill into McLean's as
We'll be keeping an eye, of course, on exactly what Beijing will be doing at the same time, we hope. But Galatasaray on their lap through the chicane and looking to see what they can do on this outlap.
Yep, David Erigon has him into his sight, into his view just at the end of the straight. He's behind him, about 10 seconds behind him, so he knows where he is and if he does a better lap or not. And they're into Goddard's, ready to go for their qualifying lap.
Here we go then, last corner onto the main straight, bang on the power. Galatasaray of Turkey against Beijing of China. Galatasaray lead the way. Beijing will have a keep and a wandering eye. You can see just in there, they're coming out of the last corner. The first sector is at about 16 seconds at the bottom of the hill through the Craner curves. Such an important part of this Donington circuit. And feeling the G-force here as we go on board with Beijing as they head towards that first sector. 17.1 from Galatasaray. Let's take a look at as he heads through that first sector at the bottom of the hill. 16.7. Beijing are faster. 4/10. Very quick indeed.
Yeah, good job from Beijing. He looked very, very fast and into Redgate and down the hill. I think 4/10 is
almost impossible to catch up. Galatasaray are going to have to do something unbelievable.
Yeah, unless Beijing does a mistake, it's over. But he keeps pushing. He has to in case Beijing makes a mistake. You never know.
47.1 now, the time to chase. And he's lost some time. 46.0. He has lost some significant time. It's not over by any means. But 1.1, well, yes. Yes it is. Galatasaray.
I'm curious
I don't know what's happened, but Galatasaray, 47.1. And now 1.1, the gap between the two of them. We'll see how Galatasaray comes across the line. A chance to make the semi-finals. The Turks cross the line with 1:20.6. Not a bad lap, good tidy lap. We saw most of it. Beijing crossed the line now, but they are well ahead. 1:18.5, and that is impressive.
Yeah, 1:8. I was curious about the lap time that Beijing was going to do. Actually, it's not so much Galatasaray, which was slow. It's just Beijing was flying.
Yeah.
They did a 1:18.5, which is quicker than what he did previously. It's for sure the fastest lap that we've seen today. Galatasaray not looking so strong, actually. 20.6 is 2 seconds off. But very much Beijing putting in a very strong performance.
Well, before today, the world's football fans may not have known too much about Guan from China. I've done a lot of Asian work with them out there, and they are a top team for sure in the Asian Cup.
And so they showed again today.
And they showed again here that they've brought a pretty good team together as well in motor racing. But it's a big era for them because they're one of the younger clubs. They were only founded in 1992. So compared to some of the iconic names out there, yes, relatively unknown. But given what's just happened sportingly in Beijing, and this is the stadium they'll play, and I think actually you might know a lot more about this team in the months to come.
as the Azerty team PSV Eindhoven is going down to the grid, and AS Roma gets ready too.
Sevilla are through, Beijing are through. Who's going to be our second semi-final? No question about it. Roma, one of the quickest in practice.
Yep.
But Eindhoven was second quickest in Group A. But you'd have to say that Tocacello should be favourite for this. He's chosen to let the Eindhoven driver go in front of him so he can check his times.
Yeah, and Eindhoven putting in the tyre warmers again to try to save as much temperature into the tyre as possible.
Holland against Italy, two of the greatest football nations. And they're not bad in motor racing either.
And so those AS Roma, you can see the mechanics running with the tyre warmers. But here they go. They won't have time to put them on.
Away goes Jalmar Berman then for PSV Eindhoven. Just getting those tyres warm as he goes on his warm-up lap for the Dutch team. Chance to go into the semi-final. This, the first shootout we've had in SuperLeague Formula. A brand new season, a brand new concept and series for motor racing, and it isn't any more exciting. A real sport for the 21st century. Two of the biggest sports in the world, football and motor racing, and certainly two of the sports that evoke the most passion. Football fans, it's a given. Motor racing fans, absolutely. You hear the sound of these beautiful V12s, you can't help but be moved.
It's going to be tighter than Beijing against Galatasaray. I think those two guys were lapping in roughly the same time, 19.5, 19.6.
Let me ask you a question. If you are Enrico Tocacello right now and you lose a little bit in the first sector, where, after you get to the bottom of the hill, can you possibly try and do something a little bit special to make up the time? Where would
chicane.
You only?
The chicane.
The foggy S's?
Yeah, the chicane at the end of the straight is the place where you can add a little bit of attacking driving style, going more over the curve, trying to make the curbs, doing a shortcut, and trying to have a very good technique through the two hairpins at the end.
Here comes the Dutchman representing Eindhoven. Crosses the line, goes towards Redgate. Through the gears he goes. Into third gear now, towards Hollywood for the first time.
Very good, spot on the line, spot on, just brushing the further than the curb, the grass.
Roma are on their way. First sector, 16.9, that's quick. Eindhoven on it for sure. Let's take a look at what Roma can do through that first sector. They come across it now. It's 17.1 they're down. So Roma, as I said, 0.2 down. He's going to have to go for it at that foggy S's, as you said. So we predicted that one in terms of what Tocacello's got to do for Roma.
And we see PSV Eindhoven running down the straight. 46.6, that's another good sector. Goes well through over the curbs.
No mistakes so far. 46.6 he's chasing. Here come Roma to the same sector point. 46, they've lost time. 47.1.
Still very tight, well, 0.5.
Half a second in all now between the two. So this is going to be Eindhoven's game, and Roma are the surprise losers in it. And that is very interesting. Jalmar Berman, though, getting out of shape as they come towards the line. His time at 1:19.4.
Good luck.
We're at the dying sessions of AS Roma's corner. They have the last corner here, but it's all come to half a second. They're down.
No,
not a good last corner either.
No.
Comes across the line in 1:19.9. So, and again,
he made up kept the same difference. 5.4, 5.6.
And Eindhoven going through then.
Good job.
I wouldn't say it is a surprise. We both predicted that AS Roma would be in the final.
Yeah, he's done well. I mean, he made a 0.4 improvement, Eindhoven, which is a big improvement. 19.4 against 19.8. That what he did in the first qualifying run. So that's a very good job from him.
Talking to Dutchman. Up next, it's Robert Dornbos, but representing AC Milan, and what a history they've got with the Dutch. Of course, some of their greatest players were Dutch, and certainly some of their wonderful eras of domination for AC Milan through Dutch players. Can Robert Dornbos continue that absolute great streak of champions? And certainly that's his intention this season, and he wants to start off this weekend by taking the pole. It really will be a psychological edge, whoever does get it.
Yeah, it will. So far, PSV Eindhoven's lap on the last lap is second fastest after Beijing. So it is a very good performance from Jelmer Berman.
2 cars remain, 1 slot remains for the semi-final. Sevilla, Beijing and Eindhoven are through.
Okay, AC Milan and the Scuderia play team being on top of what they're doing, taking care of the car, just taking the tire warmers at the last minute, so there's as much temperature in the tires as possible. And not so experienced driver of Olympiacos is still working out.
Casper Anderson, yeah.
He's still working out his brake bias apparently, because he's trying to get some temperatures into the front tires, but he should be much quicker than that. There is no way he's gonna warm up his tires by driving at 20 kilometers per hour on the track and shaking his front wheels. Never, ever, ever.
We'll have to play in the tape back. Bruce giving good instruction here. You're quite right. And look now, the car is behind him, and he knows that he doesn't want... Yeah. This is going to be interesting, because he wants to warm his tyres up, does Robert Dornbos.
Exactly. The only way you're going to warm your tyres up is by braking hard. When you brake with those carbon brakes, they produce very, very high temperature inside of the wheel.
Do you think he's deliberately holding him up?
No, he isn't, and actually now he's moving ahead. But when you brake hard, the temperatures in the front tires goes up to 1,000 degrees, and the temperature spreads into the tires, and that's how you get the temperature into the tire, not by shaking the tire from left, right at 20 kilometers per hour. It doesn't work.
Casper Anderson had a spin just out of the Foggy S's this morning, so he's had a few problems in the run-up to this quarter-final stage, and he's got the mighty AC Milan and Robert Dornbos behind him. And he was right behind him a moment ago, and we are about to go in anger for the last quarter-final. Here we go, Olympiacos up against AC Milan. He crosses the line and heads towards Redgate, up through the gears to 5th gear, down hard to 2nd gear, maybe 3rd gear through here, through Redgate and down the hill. Roaring that V12 down the hill of Hollywood and Craner curves. Heading towards that first sector point, and it is 17-1. AC Milan chasing.
Not such a good first sector for Olympiacos as you would expect. Let's have a look at AC Milan. He just took his time. Robert let him go away and has
16.9. Impressive, very impressive. Yes. So 0.195, almost 2/10 up are AC Milan at the moment, with work to do then for Olympiacos.
Olympiacos going into the straight, heading towards the second sector time. 46-47, he's in the 47s, not so good.
He needed to be quicker than that. He needed to be in the 46 if he was going to have a chance. 47-2, and that compares to AC Milan, who come across now in 47-0. So another couple of tenths. He's really doing it. It's over 2/10 quicker now. Doesn't sound much, but it's a lot in motor racing terms.
I think we're heading for a 19.5 or 6 for AC Milan, which will put him in 3rd or 4th position.
He crosses the line now, does a 1:20.022, and we await for AC Milan to come across the line, which will be in about 3 seconds. Here they come.
Okay.
120.1.
Oh, no, he made a mistake. He made a mistake.
120.1. Yeah. That is disaster. Absolute disaster for AC Milan in the dying seconds.
He lost 3.5 tenths in the last sector in the hairpin. We didn't have that on TV, but he must have made a mistake. He must have.
Robert Dornbos will be kicking himself. I don't know how that happened, and he just lost it all in 2 corners, quite literally, because actually, as he exited the Foggy S's, he was still up by 2/10, and it was just 2 corners, the Melbourne loop, and, well, let's go on board with Robert now. I wonder what happened.
We're going to have the answer. The car is very hard to maneuver into the hairpins. It's a big, big car, lots of power, and easy to go too fast into the hairpin, and if so, then you have a problem. Okay, going into the chicane, it was still good. And
now coming down towards the loop.
Yep. I think that's inboard camera just now live, so we haven't got an answer. That's too bad, We were expecting him to be up there, and he's 7th now.
Amazing, and that's actually the bigger story, really. Not just that he loses out in that quarter-final, but in terms of the time, he was not the 7th fastest. So, Sevilla beat Tottenham. Beijing beat Galatasaray. PSV beat Roma. And Olympiacos beat Milan. So that is how the quarter-finals played out. Here's a review of what happened then. Sevilla, first of all, taking on Tottenham, and a good start from Sevilla. They always look strong. Tottenham, though, did push them all the way. It was probably one of the closest quarterfinals.
Yeah, they both of them did a good job in that quarterfinal. Sevilla being third and Tottenham fourth, I think.
Yeah, fourth. It was first against fourth, so Tottenham actually improved dramatically to be only 2/10 away when they were nowhere near that in terms of their time against Sevilla's up before. So interesting quarter-final, that one. But Sevilla coming through. Borja Garcia, the driver.
Very reliable driver, very strong, always up there. Doesn't do any mistakes. So especially in that format, when you have only one lap to do, he's going to be very strong all year.
Tottenham Hotspur up next. Well, they were in that one, but not able to do anything.
Still, I'm impressed by how well did Duncan improve throughout the days, and he was up there in the quarterfinals, which is a big achievement, and he did a good job. So that's a good performance from him.
Galatasaray against Beijing, and Beijing definitely the favourites going into this, and they were already 1.1 seconds quicker than Galatasaray after the second sector. As they came to the finish, Galatasaray were the leading car, and they crossed the line in 1:20.6.
So Galatasaray is the slowest so far into the finals.
And here is the Foggy S's from Beijing, the last few corners for them, down towards the Melbourne Loop. Do you notice anything here in terms of style, just watching him fighting the car?
Yeah, he has his own very particular driving style, which is, you can see on the exit, he's not even touching the curb, because he dives in and does what we call technically a V-style driving. Dives in very early, goes deep into the corner, points the car out, and smashes the throttle, basically. Yeah. So he has a very fast entry, slow middle of the corner, and very fast exit.
David Regon then going through. And next, PSV Eindhoven taking on AS Roma. This the surprise package. At the start, fairly close, 46-6, 47-1. Not a lot in it, but enough for Eindhoven to have a comfortable gap. And in the end, Roma would not be able to match it.
Yeah, very good performance again from PSV Eindhoven. They did the 19.8 to start with the qualifying sessions, and it just crosses the line in 19.4, which is very good improvement, 4/10 improvement. So the
disappointment for Enrico Cioccocello, really up for it, and of course this the Fisichella Motorsport team, Giancarlo Fisichella, the Formula 1 driver for Force India, running this team, and will be keeping a watchful eye. He's a massive Roma fan, a big friend of Totti. And, well, unfortunately, AS Roma not coming through this time. But they will be on the grid, and I can tell you, having watched Cioccocello race before, doesn't matter where he qualifies, he'll be there.
Yeah, I think he has a bit of, he has a few problems putting the power down. You can see the steering wheel is always opposite lock when he takes
This was the big shot, though. Milan, of course, on the warmer, right behind Olympiacos, and a bit of a surprise to see that kind of setup of warm-up, and you quite rightly said not the way to go. But in the end, it's worked for him, because a mistake by AC Milan in the dying seconds. 47-2, Milan were chasing. And let's just see how it was after that second sector, because he did a 47-0. So there really wasn't a great deal between the two of them towards the end of it. A little bit of a mistake there, even by Olympiacos. But AC Milan, a much bigger mistake in the dying seconds of their final fourth quarter-final. And AC Milan are out. Olympiacos delighting the Greek fans. They go through. And Milan looks certain to qualify. Here they are coming out of...
That's okay. That was okay. And going to Goddard's, the last hairpin. What happened there? Looks okay as well. Wasn't a big lap.
Hard to work out what went wrong then for them.
Yep, and it's a go for semi-final one with Sevilla and Olympiacos.
Here we go then.
And I think Sevilla is going to be strong again there. Here we go, Borja Garcia.
Once again, that first sector proving all so important. Let's take a look at it. 16-9, that's good.
That's very good. Good job from Borja.
Right behind him, Olympiacos, 17-0. They're down. Olympiacos having just come through. A big surprise in the quarters, and now up against Sevilla. And they've got work to do, but it's 0.059. It's capable.
Yes, very tight. Anything could happen now. I think Olympiacos tires must be bit warmer than Sevilla, so logically we should see Sevilla going a bit quicker in the second sector again and a bit quicker in the last sector. Let's have a look.
46.8 by Sevilla.
Very good.
Second sector 47. He's down. So
go.
Sevilla on their way. Borja Garcia doing another good job for the Spanish.
2/10, and we should see, if no mistake.
There, thank you. Nice commentator's flight, but not really a big mistake.
No, it's
Locked
not.
up, but didn't lose time.
No, he didn't lose any time, and we should see 3.5 tenths crossing the line if the two drivers are finishing the lap as they've started it with no mistakes.
Looking for a 119 somewhere thereabouts. 119.6. Good enough, probably. Olympiacos, unless they've done something absolutely Greek godlike at the end. No, 120.2. 119.6 to 20.2. Half a second in the end.
Yes.
And Sevilla are through to the final.
Logically better in sector 1, but a little bit better in sector 2, and even better in sector 3. Tire temperature going up, and good job from Borja Garcia, who so far has been unbeaten.
So, Beijing, Eindhoven, who's your money on?
Beijing, Eindhoven, maybe a surprise from Eindhoven. I would say Beijing, but Eindhoven has done a good job.
Well, certainly, you know, if you look back to when we started this morning, qualifying and free practice all done this morning, Beijing have topped the times with Davide Rigon since the beginning of the day, and Guan have looked the most likely team to go through all the way.
Yes, but PSV Eindhoven has done a good job. They found 4 tenths between first and second round of qualifying, and if they find another 4 tenths, which might be difficult, but you never know, then it's going to be very tight and interesting.
Well, the two cars, as you can see each other as they try to warm up those tyres. This is just the warm-up lap, and a very slow-moving Eindhoven there, just holding up. There's Beijing. Out on track there. That was the other two cars coming in.
I think it was the in-lap from Borja Garcia and Olympiacos. And there you go, Beijing out on track. It's going to be followed by PSV Eindhoven very soon.
They play, of course, in the China Super League. Play at the Feng Tai Stadium at the moment, but as I said, they will be going to the Olympic Stadium once the Paralympics and everything is all over. So very exciting for them.
Jaume Berman there, already pushing, trying to get the tire temperatures up. Davide Rigon in front of him. Davide Rigon, who decided to start first this time.
Yeah, interesting choice. I wonder why. Well, maybe he knows he's the hare, and maybe he knows he can put more pressure on by possibly. I think by now everybody knows he's been the quickest. He knows what he's doing. He's comfortable, and he's proving it by saying, I don't care what you're doing. I'm going first.
Maybe he's hungry. He wants to go for lunch early.
Maybe.
He knows
Chinese buffet in the hospitality. Go on.
He knows he wants to. He knows he can do the job easily, so he wants to finish the job fast.
Like I said, they have got a lot of support here this afternoon.
And you can see again such a particular driving style. You can see he's heading towards the corner in a diagonal, as we would say in French. Going.
C'est vrai.
Yeah, going into
as
the
we
apex.
would agree with you in English.
and again, exiting the corner, steering wheel straight, which is very, very significant of a V driving style.
Here we go then. Who's going to make the final? Sevilla are already there. It's now between Beijing and PSV Eindhoven. Beijing have been the team to watch throughout this qualifying session.
Spot on line, exiting red gate, very fast there.
16.8, that is quick.
Yes.
Eindhoven have got their work cut out. Yama Bullman comes across now. 16.8, identical. What a run this is going to be. Best semi-final for sure. And Beijing and PSV, there's nothing between them. 0.013. And that really, literally, is a little bit of a lock-up, a little bit of oversteer here or there. And that's the difference. This is going to go all the way to the line unless we have a big mistake. Coming up to the second sector. 46.3 from Beijing.
Very fast.
Eindhoven chasing it. They were close before. They cross at 46.5, just losing 2 tenths.
Yes. 46 and 46.5 is the quickest second sector we've seen so far after Beijing with the 46.3, which is flying.
Beijing desperate to make their first final and make history in SuperLeague Formula, and here he goes. Going to get the last corner right.
Perfect.
Perfect corner. PSV Eindhoven 2 tenths behind. Beijing crossed the line. 119.071. Great lap. And here come Eindhoven. Yama Berman with it all to do, getting a little squirrely out of the last corner. Here he goes. 119.5. Just missing out. And in the end, quite significantly by 0.49, almost half a second. But great excitement there,
Yes.
all because of that first sector.
Yeah, the first sector was identical for the two cars. Good job from Eindhoven. Again, a good lap, 19.5, which is not as good as his previous run, which was a 19.4. But again, very consistent performance, and well done to them.
So, Beijing of China through to the final against Sevilla.
Borja Garcia. Good job.
Interesting.
Yes.
Interesting. And I don't think anybody would have predicted that at the beginning of the weekend.
No.
Everybody said Borja was going well.
Yes, but looking at the lap times, Borja in his semi-final did a 19.6, which is not as fast as Eindhoven. So he will really have to pull out a fantastic lap or a great performance, or find something on the car to try to match Davide Rigon's performance. But yet, the car is not easy to drive, and we might see some mistakes. So it's going to be interesting.
Well, I think I can safely say, in football terms, these two teams have never met.
Yeah.
I'd be surprised. They might have done a friendly, but no, I think it would be unheard of. There's a result. Sevilla beat Olympiacos. Beijing beat PSV. That's how the semi-finals panned out in this one-lap penalty shootout, effectively combining football and motor racing at the highest level, and a very exciting level indeed. And these were the last part, effectively, of Sevilla against Olympiacos. Semi-final one.
Which wasn't too hard for Borja. No mistakes. A little bit of a lock-up there, but no time loss.
He didn't look to lose any time, no.
No. Good line there.
Conditions getting slightly warmer. It was cold this morning. Any difference as we head towards the final? How much will the tyres have changed now?
I would say on one side it's going to be a little bit better because you have more and more rubber on the track and you're cleaning the track. And on the other side, I would say the temperature rising might slow down the engine slightly, but there's not a big difference.
Have you been surprised by the times, though? Because you told me this morning that really your first couple of flying laps were probably going to be your best on the tyres. And yet, we've seen in the semi-finals some of the fastest times.
Yeah, and well, basically, I was surprised this morning, early testing, that the lap times were not so good. And basically what happens is that here, particularly in Donington, you have an airport which is just against the track. And as the planes are taking off, they spray a lot of fuel and oil on the track. And it makes a very dirty and slippery track. And as they go round and round and round, they clean the track, they put the rubber down, and the track goes faster, basically.
Second semi-final then, Beijing Guoan FC against PSV Eindhoven. Certainly one of the iconic names against an up-and-coming newcomer, just formed in 1992, but certainly a big team of future club football and of future Super League by the looks of things. And great to see them on board. And wouldn't it be something if China, wouldn't that be a news story, that China win the first ever football/motor racing shootout? That will be interesting.
They're everywhere. Doing a good job with an Italian driver. That would be very interesting as well. And as we see the end of that semi-final 2 with Beijing and PSV Eindhoven, very good job from Davide Rigon. Fantastic job with a driving style which seems to suit the car very well. I'll be interested to try.
That was the second semi-final. Beijing's green and white coming across the line in great style, as they have done all weekend long. The fastest team out there for sure. Now can they go one more step and take that pole position? And if you think we're making a lot of fuss about pole position, don't, because pole position is such an advantage at a track like this where there are going to be very, very few overtaking positions. Therefore, you need to get a win from pole position to try and take that into the second race, because you're going to be thrown straight to the back of race 2. So race 1 is important. If you can win race 1 from a grid position of pole, then fine. Race 2 is a lottery. Yeah,
race 2 will be a lottery. Race 2 will be, well, a lottery, or it will be more down to the driver's overtaking skills, because you're going to be starting last and you're going to be fast, especially if you won the first race. So you'll move up the field, and it's going to be hard work.
So a bit of history now as we head to the first final of the Super League Formula here at Donington Park. What a place to have it. England, the home of football, and Donington Park, one of the homes historically of motor racing. The two combine here for the final. And it's a surprise because it's Sevilla FC of Spain, driven by the young Valencian driver Borja Garcia, as he heads up on his warm-up lap. Behind him will be the Italian Davide Rigon in the green and white Beijing colours of Guan. Davide confident about this morning, but not a lot of laps by him. He too still learning the car. Borja Garcia saw him first at the Barcelona test, where he almost sat around all day waiting to get a seat fit. Didn't get a lot of laps there. Was desperate to get in the car. Has had some disappointment in World Series by Renault and GP2. This is his great opportunity, and he would love to be able to make a phone call in about a minute's time back to Sevilla to say that he was fastest. But Beijing, well, they've been celebrating for 3 months now since they started the Olympics. Wouldn't it be great to put the icing on the cake and say they're doing well in motor racing? Here we go then.
And it's a go for Sevilla. Borja in front of Davide Rigon, who chose to start second. A little bit of an oversteering moment going into the corner, but good exit there. Going into the first sector. He should do a 16 to be fast.
He hasn't. He's 16.9.
That's
do.
quite good, yes. Let's have a look at Beijing. 15, 16.
16.7. There's just 2 tenths between them, nothing between them as we head now towards the second part of this final. It's Sevilla versus Beijing. Beijing have got the upper hand by 0.2 at the moment. Can Sevilla jump back and get into contention? Long way to go yet. Out of Coppice, down the hill, under the famous Dunlop Bridge, towards the Foggy S's, down through the gears and onto the brakes into second gear here, holding it all tight and getting back on the power as quickly as possible, or as you dare. 46.7. Chasing him, 46.1. That's brilliant by Beijing. They're going to be the first pole position and first winners of the first final of Formula Super League. This is brilliant. Super League Formula are going to be delighted with this.
That's for sure the fastest second sector time from Beijing. Very fast as well for Sevilla. 46.7. That's the top times that we're seeing.
Here we go then, crossing the line, Sevilla 119.3.
Very good lap from Borja, 19.3, but is it going to be enough? Probably not.
Oh, sensational! 18.5, 1 minute, 18.5, and they smash Sevilla by almost a second, and Davide Rigon understands that. Well, Beijing as a football team have probably the least amount of trophies compared to the rest of the teams they're fighting against here, but here, in Super League Formula, it's all been turned on its head because Beijing are the new team to watch in motor racing and football.
18.5. Fantastic lap.
What a lap.
Yeah, that's the fastest. He made it the fastest lap in that last final, which is fantastic.
That's almost just track knowledge. He's just getting quicker and quicker.
Yeah,
probably. It doesn't bode well for the racing, does it, if you can go that quick?
Yeah, if it goes the same way in the racing, it's going to go faster and faster every lap.
He starts pole position then. The first pole position goes to China. They've beaten all the mighty football clubs from around the world. And what a proud moment that will be. I'm sure the mobile phones will be ringing off the hook. Confirmation then that that's your grid. Beijing will be starting pole. Sevilla alongside them. PSV will be on the second row with Olympiacos. Then AC Milan with Robert Dornbos and Roma, the two Italians alongside each other. That's fun. On the fourth row, Galatasaray and Tottenham's Duncan Tappy. Britain on the fourth row. And on the fifth row, Anderlecht. That's impressive, actually, because they haven't had a lot of rolling against LAN. Disappointment for Andy Zuber, but he will be quick. And Flamenco and Tuca Roca alongside Dortmund and Nelson Philippe on the sixth row.
Some of the most famous names in football in a new world league. It's the beautiful game. At 300 kilometres per hour. The pride and passion of football together with the thrill and excitement of motor racing. As old rivals on the pitch become opponents on the track. Super League Formula. Round 1 Sunday, live on Setanta Sports 2.